This is an English edition of Dalsan TV. My name is Abdulrazak Ali. Let's take a look at some of the stories that are making headlines here in Somalia. Fire engulfs Mogadishu's largest market ahead of Eid al-Fitr preparations. Somalia expels Ethiopian ambassador and orders shutdown of consulates. SODMA and FAO commit to collaborative effort in flood prevention. Now the full news. Somalia has announced the expulsion of the Ethiopian ambassador to Somalia and also the closure of the consulates in the regions of Puntland and Somaliland. Our reporter has more on this.
Somalia announced the expulsion of the Ethiopian ambassador and the closure of the Ethiopian consulates in the Puntland and Somaliland regions. The move comes just a day after Ethiopia's State Minister for the Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Maseganu Agdga, held discussions with a delegation from the Puntland state in Addis Ababa, focusing on bilateral cooperation. The Council of Ministers of Somalia released a statement accusing the Ethiopian government of interfering in Somalia's internal affairs, prompting this strong response. The meetings between Ethiopian officials and Puntland representatives were seen as a catalyst for the decision. During the discussions, the delegation from Puntland, led by the Finance Minister Mohamed Farah Mohamed, explored opportunities for collaboration in various sectors such as trade, investment, energy, and joint infrastructure projects. These talks aimed to strengthen and diversify the ties between the two regions. The recent withdrawals of recognition of Somalia's federal government by Puntland further strained the relationship. The decision was made in response to the ratification of plans to amend Somalia's constitution by the bicameral parliament in Mogadishu. Somali officials assert that the actions were a direct response to Ethiopia's involvement in a lease agreement for coastal land in the disputed Somaliland territory. Ethiopia signed a memorandum of understanding on January 1st, intending to lease 20-kilometer stretch of Somaliland's coastline. However, Somalia, which claims sovereignty over the region, strongly opposed the deal. Concerns have been raised regarding the potential instability and implications of the Horn of Africa, as the agreement includes Ethiopia plans to establish a naval base and hints recognizing Somaliland's autonomy.
Mogadishu's largest market was struck by massive fire on Friday morning as traders and shoppers were busy preparing for the upcoming Eid al-Fitr.
Mogadishu's largest market was struck by a devastating fire on Friday morning as traders and shoppers were busy preparing for the upcoming Eid al-Fitr celebration. The fire, which broke out in the gold section of the Bakara, rapidly spread throughout the market, causing extensive destruction. The exact cause of the fire remains unknown, leaving authorities to investigate the incident. The fire has been distinguished by Hormuz Company and the administration of Benadir. However, the scale of the casualties is yet to be determined as the situation unfolds. This unfortunate incident comes just 2 weeks after similar fire ravaged a section of Bakara on March 10th. The previous blaze claimed the life of at least one person and destroyed numerous stores specializing in electronics, as well as vendors selling commodities such as coffee, shoes, and clothes.
Now, in a proactive movement towards preparedness, the National Disaster Management Agency, that is SODMA, Commissioner Mahmoud Maalim Abdulle, welcomed the head of the Food and Agriculture Organization in Somalia, Mr. Atiena Paschamit, at the SODMA headquarters.
In a proactive move towards disaster preparedness, the Somali National Disaster Management Agency, SOMDA, led by Commissioner Mr. Mahmoud Maalim Abdal, welcomed the head of the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, in Somalia, Mr. Etienne Peter Schmidt, at the SODMA headquarters today. The high-level meeting focused on enhancing cooperation between the two organizations and discussed strategic measures to mitigate the risk of flooding in the region. Key among the topics was the construction of dams, a proactive step to prevent the recurrent floods that pose a threat to the country. With the Meteorological Department forecasting imminent heavy rains, the urgency for emergency solutions was underscored. Both organizations have agreed to form specialized committees dedicated to addressing these critical issues promptly. This partnership marks a proactive approach to disaster management, reflecting a shared commitment to safeguarding the communities against natural calamities through collaborative efforts and strategic planning.
Now, our last story, the US President Joe Biden effectively gave Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ultimatum on Thursday to protect Palestinian civilians and foreign aid workers in Gaza, or Washington could rein in support for Israel in its war against Hamas.
President Joe Biden, for the first time since the start of the war in Gaza, threatened to condition support for Israel's offensive there, saying U.S. policy could change if Israel doesn't take concrete steps to protect civilians and aid workers. Biden's warning follows an Israeli airstrike that killed 7 aid workers and was relayed during a phone call on Thursday with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We've gone from a hug to a handshake to a slap on the wrist today.
Laura Blumenfeld, a senior fellow at Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, said it marks the first time Biden has sought to leverage U.S. aid to influence Israeli military behavior.
Look, this is tough. It's Biden on a tightrope with no net. He's caught in political crosswinds. From the left wing of his party, they're saying condition aid, remove yourself from your all-out support for Israel. And then from the right, especially in Congress, the Republicans are threatening to blast him because they'll accuse him of weakness. I think the most important thing here is to set clear red lines. So if Biden can say, here are the lines, do not cross them, there will be consequences, that gives him credibility and leverage and leadership.
The White House had described Biden as outraged by the attack that killed World Central Kitchen aid workers.
Systematically, car by car.
The group's founder, celebrity chef Jose Andres, told Reuters in an interview Wednesday that the attack had targeted his aid workers deliberately.
Israel must meet this moment.
In Brussels, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the attack on aid workers this week must be the last, and that humanitarian aid must be surged into Gaza.
If we don't see the changes that we need to see, there'll be changes in our own policy.
At the White House, spokesperson John Kirby declined to elaborate on what specific changes the U.S. would make to its policy toward Israel and Gaza, but said the U.S. expected to see an announcement from Israel on steps it's taking to protect civilians and aid workers in the coming hours and days.
We want to see that even as the Israelis work through their investigation, that they are willing and able to take practical, immediate steps to protect aid workers on the ground and to demonstrate that they have that civilian harm mitigation in place.
Israel said on Thursday it would adjust tactics in the Gaza war after describing the attack as the result of a misidentification, and that findings from an investigation would be made public soon.
That story brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for always tuning in to Somalia's #1 TV station, Dalsan TV. Till we meet again, I wish you a lovely evening.